Kiev is an ancient European city where the world-famous power Rus arose. 1,000 years ago, its territory covered a huge area from the Baltic to the Black Sea and from the Sian River, a tributary of the Vizla, to the Volga River. There are still a lot of monuments from that time, one of the most famous being St. Sophia's, built in the 11th century when nobody had heard of Moscow and European countries had just started to form their nations. Well, I was very surprised when I first arrived here because I lived in Eastern Europe about 25 years ago, and obviously things have changed a lot since the 1980s. And Kiev's quite a dynamic place. It's changing very fast. You will have an excellent opportunity to work and live in the heart of Kiev, in Podil. This is an old part of Kiev with narrow streets and many churches. The British Council occupies an old but renovated 4-floor building on the corner of 2 streets. There are about 70 people working for the British Council, including 20 teachers.
I like Ukraine because it has a lot of variety. So if you travel around, every part of Ukraine is a bit different, has something different to offer. So for instance, in the south, you have Crimea, you have the seaside, and Odessa. In the east, you have the Russian areas, Kharkov. And on the west, you have the Polish-style areas. So it's quite interesting just from a traveller's point of view.
English courses are fully booked here and the demand is increasing every year. 75% of students are adults and 25% children aged 8 to 16.
How often does Lola sing at the flamenco?
They can use our library and attend free add-on activities like the speaking club or the book club.
Hello and welcome to Ukraine.
At weekends, some teachers participate in the Kiev Players, an English-speaking theatre group. Here is part of their performance of Robin Hood in one of Kiev's private theatres.
Oh, Robin, how lovely to see you again.
How she has changed. How can it be possible?
It's not very difficult. The only thing is there are far too many lines to learn in too little time. And I wish you could come to the later performance where I promise I will remember all my lines.
Mark was the sheriff.
Aha! Maid Mary, at last I found you.
Well, actually, sir, we were just going.
You're not going anywhere.
Sometimes the plays end up with dances with spectators. The British Council building is located near Andreevsky Ozviz, a Kiev Parnassus. Ukrainian contemporary painters have been settling their works here for the last 100 years. The whole street is full of small coffee shops and museum, and also here the famous writer Mikhail Bulgakov, who wrote The Master and Margarita, lived. The people, it was a pleasant surprise that working here at the British Council, the students are quite different from the students that I was used to in Spain. The students here are very hardworking and they're always asking for more and more homework. In Spain it wasn't always like that. The students were a lot more, they weren't lazy, but they didn't work as hard. And so as a teacher, I mean, I'm happy here that I've got hard-working students. The Dnieper River flows past Podil, and the Kiev-Pecherska Lavra is situated on its right bank. The Lavra is the centre of the Orthodox world, and thousands of tourists from around the world come to visit the Lavra with its marvellous churches and spooky caves. Today, Ukraine is preparing to co-host the Euro 2012 Championships. The final will take place in Kiev, and new football stadiums are being built while old ones are being reconstructed. Football is the #1 sport in Ukraine, and Dynamo is the most popular club in the country. Kiev is a popular venue for concerts, and the Scorpions played the Republikansky Stadium, and Deep Purple also played here recently. Elton John played a free open-air concert in the Maidan Niezależności recently. A few years ago, the Maidan, the central square in Kiev, became famous overnight. Millions of Ukrainians went there wearing orange ribbons in protest against the falsification and fraud in the presidential election. People lived and slept in the Maidan for 2 months. They sang songs there and cried out slogans. There was not a single fight or arrest during this period, which became known in history as the Orange Revolution. The Ukrainian people achieved their goal, and there were new elections. Tens of different music contests are held in Ukraine every year. The most famous one is Kraina Mri, the Country of Dreams. This is an international ethno-festival that takes place in summer. Kiev is called a city of parks. It is considered one of the greenest cities in Europe, and Vladimirska Hirka, or Vladimir's Hill, is very popular. It has a few levels with a monument of Prince Volodymyr on the top. It was him who baptized Ukrainians in the year 988. Straight after the Orange Revolution, visas to Ukraine for citizens of the EU, Canada, the UK, the US and Japan were cancelled. Kiev has been flooded with foreign tourists since then, and they often come to Kiev for the weekend. This is no wonder, as beer costs $1 for half a litre. In addition, Kiev's underground is the cheapest in Europe, 10 cents for a one-way trip. After a cheap beer and a trip in the metro, you can enjoy a walk along the central street in Kiev, Khreshchatyk. This is a popular place for meeting friends and romance. You could also choose to spend your weekend on the Black Sea coast in the Crimea. The Crimea Peninsula used to be a favourite place for holidays for the Moscow Tsars and Soviet General Secretaries. If you prefer mountains and like skiing, you could go to western Ukraine to the Carpathian Mountains.